So it has a brew. I also have a popping candy chocolate spread sandwich because it's insanely nice. So before we get started, somebody asked me in last week's video in a comment, they asked me if I could talk about the Galaxy S5. The short answer to that is no, and basically because it's a piece of shit. It's nothing that special. When the World Mobile Developers Conference, or whatever it's called, I can't remember what it's called. I can never remember what it's called. The mobile conference that happens in Barcelona every year. I didn't want to talk about the S5 because at that thing, loads of other things happened and loads of other things that came out that look so much better than the Galaxy S5. The Galaxy S5 is kind of meh. It looks like the back looks like a just essentially a plaster, and it's just, I don't know. The specs aren't that impressive. The innovation isn't that impressive. I mean, you had the Xperia Z2. That's all I'm going to say on the matter, really. The Xperia Z2 blew everything out of the water, really. There wasn't anything else really to write home about. I mean, there's a few like Nokia devices. There was a few. I think there was a new HTC device there as well. There's a few devices kicking about, but nothing. In terms of the Z2 even, the Xperia Z2 was the showstopper, really, in terms of its specs, in terms of the fact it can shoot 4K video. Just so many cool things, and Samsung hasn't really brought anything to the party. There's not a ridiculously upgraded CPU or GPU. The screen's not amazing. The camera's not amazing, and it's Samsung. I'm never going to get a Samsung device ever again. I bought my current contract, so I have a contract with EE at the moment, and that contractual phone is the S3, which is now kicking around gathering dust as my spare phone because the battery life is ridiculous. My current daily driver is the Xperia Z, just going in my pocket. This thing is just so amazing. It's sexy, it looks great, it feels great. The battery life is abysmal, but because I'm always pretty much connected to a power source, that doesn't matter too much. And also the sun's been a real inconsistent bastard today. So I put the ISO down to 400, and because everything was blown out at 800, and now the sun's gone away, and now I'm in the gloom, which is outrageous. I suppose what I should have is I should have artificial studio lights. But again, when I get my own place, I shall have all this stuff, and it will be amazing. I'm not going to talk about the S5 because S5 is a piece of shit, and I don't think you should go out and buy one. My next device will probably be the Z2 when I upgrade, which will be end of this year, maybe, I think. I'm just trying to think when I last upgraded. It's a 24-month contract, I think, so it might be a couple of years, it might be more than a year away. I want to wait until to see what Google does with its Nexus devices. I don't know whether or not they're going to because they're not generally the market leaders there. The specs are usually alright. The designs are alright. They're generally okay, okay phones, but certainly nothing to write home about. But the way that Sony are going with their phones, they just look amazing. They feel amazing. The software on them is really great because I've always I thought when I got it, the OEM software is going to be crap, and the Android thing they've done on it, it's going to be rubbish. But actually, it's fantastic. I've not had any slowdowns with it. Everything works really great. I've not even rooted it. I've not put my own custom ROM on it because there's no need, because it just runs fine. So yeah, I'm not going to worry about too much about the S5 because it's just shit, really. So moving on to the actual news, which I think this happened the day after I did Brew Time, or the day that Brew Time came out, and I filmed it on the weekend, and I missed the news on it, was Android Wear and Moto 360, which just look absolutely fucking amazing. So basically, Google's going to move Android to wearables, and they're going to do it in a kind of Google Now-y kind of way. They're going to use Google Now, and I guess they're going to use the power of your smartphone as well. One would think that your smartphone would be the thing that drives it all, and then your watch would then connect via Bluetooth or something like that, as opposed to it having its own Wi-Fi and things, because I think that would be very power intensive. There's been it looks amazing. Let's just start with that. It looks fucking amazing. When it comes out, if it's like 200 quid, 300 quid, I will be going out and buying one because it just looks great. As a watch, it looks fantastic. It just, as a design-wise, even if it wasn't a smartwatch, it just looks great anyway as a watch. And then the fact it's got, the smart features on top of it as well will be fantastic. Will I use that kind of thing every day? Probably not. It's probably not going to make much of a difference to me. I mean, I suppose it will do in terms of, although Google Now is a bit shit where I live, because in the southwest of the UK, it doesn't really work. Google Now kind of works to a certain extent, and it's kind of, developing further. But really, it doesn't do bus times properly. It doesn't do train times properly. So it's not really the greatest in terms of, telling you what's going on and where you can get shit and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I don't know whether or not it's going to be that great for where I live. I mean, it'd be great for if you live in a main city, if you live in London, if you live in America, definitely. But yeah, well, we'll just have to see how it goes. But it does look amazing. The Moto 360 looks great. Android Wear looks great. It'll be interesting to see where developers go with it. I'm hoping we'll see more watch-like looking devices as opposed to the shit square ones we've been seeing at the moment, like the Pebble and other things like that. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Apple gets involved with it. Something tells me they probably will, because usually what Apple does is they create stuff and everybody else copies them, but actually recently they've not been doing that with things like the iPad Mini. They've been copying Google. Whether or not they will bring their own not Android Wear, but their own smartwatch out, I don't know. I don't think they probably will, because I don't think the market share is there, and the only people that are going to be buying the smartwatches are going to be people that have iPhones, because they're certainly not going to make it compatible with Android phones. I mean, they should do, because if they did, they'd probably get a lot more sales from it, but they certainly won't. And yeah, so the only people that are going to really buy it are people that own iPhones. And considering the majority of people don't own iPhones, they own Android phones and other devices, then I think they're limiting their market share too much. I suppose maybe if you have an iPad, maybe it could link in with that, but I don't see how. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Apple do decide to do that. It'd be cool. I mean, it'd be nice to see what Apple can innovate with there in terms of their engineering, in terms of their design and stuff. But I don't know. We'll just have to see, I guess. The only thing we have to really wait for is Google I/O to see when that actually is going to happen and what's going to come out and what the price is and stuff like that, which will be in June. So we'll have to wait, I'm afraid, until that date for until June for Google I/O, and then for Moto 360 and Google Wearables to come out as a thing. The Moto 360 is supposed to be out in summer 2014, so it will be available before Christmas, which would be great. One thing as well, if you didn't miss it, Chromecast came out in the UK. You can buy that now for 30 quid most places. Actually, I think Amazon are selling it for 22 quid with Prime. So, it's stupidly cheap. Like, I can't even believe how cheap the Chromecast is. I kind of want to get one, but I've got no reason to get one, and I've got nothing to really plug it into. So I've got a projector, but I mean, because that's what I primarily watch TV and stuff through, is projected onto my wall, but that's all connected to my PC, so there's kind of no real need for me to have a Chromecast. It would be cool when I get my own place and when I get a TV and when I get, all that kind of stuff. It would be really cool, but I don't think I'm going to really need to have it. So I don't know. I'm going to hold off having it for a minute because I don't see there any need. I suppose maybe I could have it and play with it and see what it's like and do a review of it maybe. But it's alright. I don't know. It's just nothing special really, considering there's like other things on the market. Now, the other big bit of news that happened and came out, and I'm really, really excited about, and I'm kind of gutted I can't really afford one, but I probably will try and save up for one as my replacement laptop maybe, is Razer's new Blade. It just looks amazing. It's just unspeakably amazing. The screen resolution is insane. The spec on it is alright, but pretty insane considering it can run things like Sleeping Dogs at 30, 40, no, is it 50, 60 frames a second on their huge screen. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I suppose really what I should have done is done a separate video on this. But I'm going to roll it into brew time, and there you go. But we'll go through the specs, and then we'll kind of just talk about it. So screen resolution is 3200 by 1800, which is an IGZO IPS touchscreen, which is what Razer are calling it. 802.11ac, which is a standard thing now in 2014. 8GB of 1600MHz DDR3 RAM. Haswell i7 running at 2.2 GHz, which is turbo boosted to 3.2. An NVIDIA GeForce GTX 870M with 3 GB of dedicated memory. 6 hours of standard computing battery life, and 2 or 3 hours of hardcore PC gaming, which is actually pretty good. I mean, you know, if you wanted to get your Titanfall on or something like that for 2 hours, that would be fucking amazing. The only downside though is the price. It starts at $2,199 for 128 GB SSD, which is very expensive. Moving up to $2,699 for the 512 GB SSD, which is probably the one that most people are going to be wanting to get, because if you're going to be wanting to run games, you want a decent amount of storage. And that's roughly about 1,600 quid, so about 1,640-ish quid. So it's not too bad, considering the spec, and considering the fact you're getting an insane screen. I mean, you compare that to the MacBook. You could probably get a MacBook for that, roughly that spec, for about that kind of price, which is right. I suppose it depends on what you want to do. I really want to get it for video editing. I want to get it to have to basically replace my laptop and as an interim desktop whilst I'm sorting my shit out with work and everything else. Because it would be amazingly good. It would be just so cool. It looks amazing. It kind of looks a little bit like a MacBook in black, to be honest. But it just looks amazing. I imagine it's going to feel amazing as well. The specs are insane. It's just fucking brilliant. Like, if I was in the position to get a review unit right now, I would just... I don't know, I'd probably just do unspeakable things to get hold of one, because it's just... it just looks amazing. It's just so good. It is on pre-order at the moment. You can pre-order it if you so wish, but I very much doubt any of my subscribers are going to be able to afford one. I would probably be able to afford one in a couple of months. If I saved up for it, I'll probably be able to afford one. And I might look at getting one. Maybe get it shipped from the US or something like that. And because it doesn't really matter, because the specs are pretty much the same. It's just going to be US English, so things spelt wrong, U's missing in places and Z's instead of S's. But the power brick is power brick will just need converting to our 230 volt, which will be right. But yes, it does look effing amazing. It just looks so good. And yeah, I really will consider looking at getting one. Depending upon what happens with work, obviously, and depending upon whether or not I get this job on Tuesday. I have an interview on Tuesday, which will be when Brewtime comes out. So hopefully by the time Brewtime comes out, because it's usually about 5 o'clock on the Tuesday, I'll know whether or not I've got a job. And if I have got a job, that means that's great, because I can get my own place, and then in a couple of months I can get my own place. And I can have a proper studio set up, I can do a proper room tour, because I'm not going to do a room tour of here, because my room looks absolutely disgusting. I don't want you to see that. And it's just such a mess. I need to have a big clear out of stuff, and yeah, I'm not going to put you through the that kind of stuff. Plus, I'd have to move a load of stuff to get in to actually show you what things look like. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I've got to say on the matter. I have got a new banner, as you may have seen at the top of my channel. I don't know why I'm pointing up, because it doesn't actually show on the video page. So when you check out the channel page, there is a new banner, or YouTube channel design, or whatever it's called, and there is a new icon, new avatar. Let me know what you think. If you think it's good, fantastic, let me know. If you think it's shit, let me know as well, though I'd much rather you be constructive when you say that, because the guy that created it did it for a uni project, and it does look really, really good. I think it looks great. It's much better than I did, because the one I did was pretty crap, really. I mean, it had all the information there, but it wasn't the greatest design thing ever. But for somebody that doesn't do creative kind of stuff like that, I didn't think it was too bad at all. But yeah, no, it does look really good. Let me know what you think. If you think it's good, let me know. If you think it's crap, then, well, just go and die off a cliff, I don't know. The other thing is, you want to go and check out Enigma clothing. They make some really, really cool stuff. There is a 50% off code for their diamond t-shirt down below, which you can check out. So that brings it down to something like £8, including postage, I think. So they are really cool. They've got some really great designs coming up. Some of the stuff is kind of still under development, and they've got some really, really great stuff, and some of the guys are really fantastic. I know there's loads of indie brands going around at the moment. There's tons. I mean, you can't, like, every time you blink, there's a new indie brand. Every time like, pretty much every other follower is an indie brand trying to follow me on Twitter, and I have a look and I'm like, oh, here we go. There are some really fantastic ones around, but no, certainly go and check out Enigma Tea or Enigma Clothing. Was that all I want to say? I think that's pretty much it. So, hit me up on Twitter at AsYouChill, send me an email, AsYouChill@gmail.com, and apart from that, I shall catch you in a later video.